Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles and welcome to Power Talk, my podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. I cover topics related to hypno-coaching, spirituality, and the hypnotic arts and sciences in general. If you'd like to know more about my professional work as a hypnotist and a life coach, check out my website, which I'll tag at the end of this video. Today, I want to talk about the art and science of doing housework. Now, I realize this isn't a very exciting topic, but it is a necessary one. With only a few exceptions, most people have to deal with housework. Very few of us can have enough domestic help to outsource all housework, and these days, few couples have a situation where such labor is not shared between the partners in some way. Believe it or not, one of the signs that counselors look for when they make a diagnosis of depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or other focus or energy problems is to ask about the state of someone's home. If the housework is under control, or if things are out of control, is an important piece of diagnostic information. If the house is out of control, then a mood, focus, or energy problem is suspected. Now, personally, I like a somewhat minimalist lifestyle and engage in a regular battle against clutter. I feel that a cluttered environment is an energy thief. I know that I am so much more productive, happy, and focused when my home is in order. Now, your mileage may vary, but today I want to pass on two resources that have helped me. As I married a handicapped partner, I understood from the very first that housework would be mostly my responsibility, as my wife simply can't do much of it. Lindsay takes care of the laundry and the household bills, but pretty much everything else falls to me. I also run a busy and productive hypno-coaching practice, and free time is something that is in short supply. So I had to find a way of organizing things and mastering housework effectively. Now, in my client work, I sometimes help people who have depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or other problems. The current term for that is to say that these people are not neurotypical. That means they have a neurological system that differs from mainstream culture. Now, I like the term neurotypical to describe most of us, and the corresponding term neurodiverse to describe people who have different preferences. I like these terms because it makes clear that there is nothing wrong with people whose neurological systems function differently than mine or most other people. They're not sick. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just not typical. In fact, science tells us that people with those issues often are highly intelligent. They've just not been trained to deal effectively with their particular neurological skill set. The rest of us who have more mainstream preferences get lots of instruction and help in how to function in society. But if your style is different, well then, not so much help. So in this podcast, I'm going to refer to two resources. The one I personally use called the Flylady system, and one for those who are neurodiverse, who have ADHD, depression, postpartum depression, and so on. And for those people, I want to recommend a recent book by a professional counselor Katie Davis, titled How to Keep House While Drowning, which I think is a fantastic book. Now let me start with the Flylady, which is the system I mostly use. If you want to learn about what she has to share, check out her book entitled Sync Reflections or her website, flylady.net. The author is Marla Silly, who is about 50 years old these days. Now, she's a fan of fly fishing, hence the name on her website. She created her system as a way of restoring order to her home when she was struggling with a major depression. She writes that a lot of people live with what she calls chaos, which is an acronym for Can't Have Anyone Over syndrome. It's what you have if your home is so disordered that the thought of someone dropping by embarrasses you. Her goal is to keep a home well enough that you're not ashamed if someone drops by unexpectedly. Her system is simple. You have a brief morning and evening list of quick chores that you do each day to open the house for the day or close it down for the night. Apart from that, you divide your home into 5 zones, with one zone selected each week or partial week. Each day, you resolve to spend 15 minutes cleaning in that week's zone. Just 15 minutes. She believes that anyone can do something for 15 minutes, and she even recommends you use a timer so you don't get off track. And that's basically it. Clean as you go, basically stay on top of things. It does not result in an Instagram-worthy, pristine home, but it does result in a home that is mostly caught up and not an embarrassment. I've used this system myself for more than 30 years. Even so, it was the other book, How to Keep House While Drowning, that was a breath of fresh air. Written for people who have issues with focus and follow-through, Katie Davis makes some general points that can apply to everyone. A lot of her book focuses on housework, but she does cover other things like weight management, and those sections are worth a read. One metaphor that she coins I really like is her image of juggling balls. Now, we've all seen a juggler or two. And when we're trying to manage our responsibilities, it can feel like we're juggling those responsibilities and perhaps have too many balls in the air. Her image is to distinguish between those balls that are made of glass, things which you have to do or there will be a problem. If you drop a glass ball, it breaks. And those which are made of plastic, where it's okay if they fall because they'll bounce and you can pick them up later. Changing the baby's diaper is a glass ball because bad things will result if you fail to do it. You can't let that ball drop. But sorting the mail is a plastic ball because nothing really bad's going to happen if you let it go for a while. Now, some of her ideas, like keeping multiple laundry baskets around the house so you can toss dirty laundry into them instead of leaving it on the floor or draped over that treadmill you were going to use, those ideas are going to be most valued by people who have real issues in keeping their housework current. But one of her central themes really resonated with me. Housework isn't really work. You can think about it differently. You can consider it a form of self-care. I deserve to live in a home where I know I'm not going to trip over things if I get up in the middle of the night to hit the bathroom. I deserve to have a kitchen where there's enough clear space I can feed myself and my family wholesome food without having to move heaven and earth to make room or have to deal with a health hazard. I deserve to have a space that is free enough from dust that I'm not constantly fighting allergies. Keeping your house up can be understood as a form of self-care. Now, she pairs with this the insight that you also need to set limits around that form of self-care to manage it so it doesn't become overwhelming. In her home, at 7:30, the day is declared over for the evening. No housework will be done after that. After 7:30 p.m., it's time for rest, relationship, entertainment, renewal. The idea is not to get carried away, but to keep the house good enough. Now, she counsels against having strict routines, sort of the opposite of the Flylady, but I get the vibe here. If you just feel rotten, you can let some stuff go because it's a plastic ball and it's going to bounce. You'll catch it later sometime. Rest and self-care have a value and take a priority. Now, mastering both of these systems assume that it's a huge mistake to judge yourself if you're not keeping a perfect home. And in fact, that trying to keep an Instagram-worthy home is foolish. You only end up pushing yourself harder than you need in return for something that really isn't worth it. Good enough is good enough. And then you can enjoy your time and life. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It does help me a lot if you let others know about my work, so please like, share, and subscribe these videos. If I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through email, my website, or Patreon channel. Stay well and stay safe.